benefits. And
Yes. It makes it tough for everyone involved.
They feel like people.
Our voices will keep our best foot forward.
Hello, and welcome to Smooth Transitions with iFoster, your survival guide to exiting foster care, brought to you by those who have gone through our own foster care journey. I'm Shellsea Reynoso.
And I'm Keira Green.
In today's episode, we will discuss getting a job and keeping it with Keira Green. Getting a job is something we all need to do, and often is more difficult than we think. In fact, a longitudinal study of youth formerly in California's extended foster care program found that at age 23, 2 years after leaving the child welfare system, only 55% of respondents were currently employed, working 10 or more hours per week, compared to 75% of their non-foster peers. Additionally, nearly 60% of the young people in the study earned an annual income below the federal poverty level, compared to 46% of their non-foster peers. We know it's important to work, but for many of us, leaving foster care, it's a big hurdle to overcome. So that's why today we'll discuss the unique challenges foster youth face when finding a job and offer concrete resources to help you get on the path to employment. Our guest today is Keira. Keira is a member support specialist with iFoster. She's going to share with us her experience finding a job once she exited foster care. Hi, Keira. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shellsea. I'm happy to, talk about this topic and, do the Smooth Transition podcast with you. I'm excited to just talk about, employment specifically for youth that are exiting out of foster care, because usually a youth who are, graduating, they're still probably thinking of what to do. They probably don't worry about it as much. But, as a former foster youth, once we graduate high school, it's like we have the urge of needing to find employment. And it's very important to give the tips for our youth out there. That way they know how to have a better transition into finding a job.
Oh, definitely. So when we're exiting care, what was the most difficult part about finding a job, do you think?
The most part of exiting foster care would have been just trying to find the right people who knows how to just find employment. Because when I was trying to find a job, I thought it was an easy as, going in there, asking them if they're hiring and stuff. And a resume just didn't work. You just give them your resume and stuff. But finding the people that knew oh no, you have to go through an application process. And, I think at that time I didn't have my own technology about having a laptop to fill out these applications. So technology was one of the barriers, and learning how to fill it out. Because I think when I was applying for applications and they wanted a brief description about you, I remember I was so simple with my words. I was just well, I can clean, I can, wash stuff, I can, talk to customers. That's it. But you got to be more in depth and give more, clarity, just to make it, noticeable for other companies. So definitely knowing how the process went of, just trying to find employment was a tough one for me.
I get that. Yes, definitely. I think a piece of that is also networking, just finding people, interning. I think that's a great thing about iFoster, is that we got the connection of all of that, which was those skills that you needed, like you talked about, besides just knowing how to talk to people. It's how to, do your first resume and all of those things. And then along with that, being with iFoster, we got to connect to more people and talk to people that knew how to do that, and just more experience. So I think that's awesome. And one of the biggest challenges many youth in foster care face is not having access to things like their birth certificates or social security cards. In many counties, caseworkers hang on to those documents, and it causes so many challenges when we try to get a job. So one thing that has helped many young people with this issue is the iFoster digital locker. It's a place for you to securely store your most important documents and access them wherever you are, whenever you need them. You can store digital copies of important life, health, education, and employment documents. You could even take a picture of your important cards, ID card, driver's license, passport, health card, social services card, and store them in your locker. I know I'm always doing that. Like, I'm always taking pictures of everything, and I'm like, okay, they're there when I need them in my phone.
Yeah.
So I think the digital locker is awesome because, I already have them in my phone just for my safekeeping, but like, how safe is that? Just having them there. So the digital locker is that safe place, that you could store all those photos. And then you could only access your locker through your secure login to the iFoster portal using your chosen username and password. So all documents are encrypted and uploaded to your secure locker, and all lockers reside on iFoster servers in a secure data storage facilities and monitored 24/7. So nobody can access your documents in your iFoster digital locker but you, making it a safe and secure place to store electronic versions of things like your social security card, ID, and birth certificate, like I mentioned before. So it's like super safe. It's monitored, and it's a great place to just store all these things. And in case your phone, got lost or something, you could always log in from a different device, into your iFoster account, and everything will still be there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am very aware of the iFoster digital locker, especially when I was in the works of trying to find a job myself. In today's world of just filling out an application, everything is just online, and when you're filling out questions or having to submit information, they're going to be asking for those, vital documents. I know there's a few youth that aren't familiar with like their social security number, like they don't have it by heart, or even just having like their ID, like some can't keep up with having a physical ID, but just the fact how you can just have a photo of your ID, your social security, your birth certificate, any important documents that you need in the process of getting employment. The iFoster digital locker was very secure and very useful. And it's very good to have because, some people like to just have these important documents in their emails, but, our emails adds up, and some youth, they accidentally get rid of it. It probably goes into the trash, or, that is not safe, So the iFoster digital locker is very helpful for those important documents. And just to give a glimpse of having the vital documents, it's very important because if there's any employment that is interested in you, they're ready to go. They want to know, like, okay, do you have your ID? Do you have your social? Do you know that by heart? Okay, can you give us a copy? Can you send us this through email? And if you don't have that, it's going to take you some weeks. It's going to take you just the process of getting it. An ID is probably like 1 to 2 weeks. Getting a social security card is probably the same. And, birth certificate, they have their own process. And just having those documents is very important. I highly recommend to make sure that if any youth is interested in applying for a job, just make sure you have those in hand. That way you're good to go filling out applications, or if anyone is interested in you.
Awesome. Yeah, I know you mentioned, looking for a job. It's easy to find these documents, having them in one place. And I wanted to ask you, where did you go for help with your job search?
Yeah, so when I finished with high school, I was just like, at first I went to family members. Like I went to like my grandma and was just like, hey, like, what's the process of, just trying to get a job and stuff. And, the basic answer, they're like, oh, just go up there and see if anyone's hiring, or when you drive by, see if they have like the hiring sign or anything. And that part was like a little bit frustrating. But when I was actually trying to do the effort by, going on websites, going to official like job openings and just filling out resumes, it felt like it was like a waste. I was getting impatient, I felt like the process didn't work. But the thing that had helped me throughout my job search after that, I had reached out to IOP, the independent living program that's located in my area. And I believe I had a mentor who had the resources of helping me find my first job. And iFoster was one of them for me. And throughout that, like IOP had taught me the basics of, like filling out a resume and make sure your contact info is accurate, make sure you have these vital documents and stuff. So my coordinator when I was in independent living helped me out with that, thankfully, because I was in a need for it. And I had to be consistent, of keeping a lookout for any calls that came in or any openings that were happening. I had to, stay alert on that. I would say IOP helped me out. One of the particular programs that actually helped me as well is called the America's Job Center, or AJC. And America's Job Center, they provide free help for job seekers, like for a variety of careers. So it can be if you are seeking to find part-time, full-time, or if it's like temporary. The America's Job Center has counselors, and they have other staffs that help you to assess your interests. They help you with your skills, your abilities. They're in on-demand jobs. They look for other openings that's in their area, recruiting events, workshops, and they also help with resumes as well. So if you have experience as a client of like AJCC, I highly recommend, you reaching out to them because they are also useful if you're trying to look for a job.
Yeah, America's Job Centers are so helpful. Sometimes they're called one-stops or career centers, but they can all help with the same things. And America's Job Centers are across the country. So no matter where you live, there's one in your area that you can go to for employment assistance. All right, so let's talk about the resume. Why is it so important, and how can I make mine stand out in the crowd?
All right, so having a resume is the most important thing to have in the process of looking for a job. It's very important because this is your first impression, and it's basically on paper before they meet you in person. And it's very important because employers and other companies will be looking at it to see if you fit their job description. So when creating a resume, there's 4 main sections that you have to have on your resume, and that would be your contact info, employment history, education, and skills. Now, usually when formal foster youth, they are exiting out of care or they're just graduating high school, they're like, what if I don't have like employment history? You can put on there relevant experiences that are useful that you have done in high school, in communities, what you volunteer for, or just anything that you can add in there that can help you fit the description of the job. Um, and basically, for resumes, you don't have to have a lot of information about your skill or your history or anything. All resumes have to be on one front paper. So make sure not to have like a lot of stuff on there. Employers usually like to have like a one sheet that best describes you. And if you have more than one copy or more pages and stuff about you, it kind of gets confusing and overwhelming for the employer. So definitely having just one page would be useful. But yeah, resumes is very important to have, and having an updated resume is very useful too. So make sure you have your contact number, your email, And sometimes it's good to have where you're at in that location on there as well. That way they know, where you're located locally. But yeah, it's definitely important to keep your resume updated.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think I'm gonna pass this on to my sister because I know she's working on a current resume. I'm gonna be like, go watch this podcast because I know she was looking for some tips. And then other than the ones I've already given her, I'm gonna show her this. iFoster has a resource in their portal as well called Career Cruising. Career Cruising is a career and employment preparation program allowing you to explore and get individualized guidance on thousands of colleges and vocational schools, over 600 careers, thousands of available jobs. It's used in over 30,000 school districts and youth employment centers nationwide. And iFoster can set you up with a free account. Career Cruising has many features, including a resume writing tool that is super easy to use. You can also explore different careers, take interest and skill assessments, and find out more about college and vocational programs.
Yeah, and just to add on about just career cruising, just the preparation that career cruising has to explore, you know, any interest in, going to college or other vocational schools or just developing a plan. Career cruising is very useful for that. And like Yvette said, it's free. It's available for youth that are in high school and above, and you must be an iFoster member to apply for career cruising to have access to it.
Right. All right. Okay. So last question for you. If you could do it all over again, as far as your journey with employment or finding employment, what would you do differently?
That's a good question because I felt like I did it recently, but it wasn't specifically for me. It was actually for my little brother. So my little brother, he exited out of foster care. He's currently 19. He graduated high school, and he moved in my area. And the first thing that we realized that to make him independent and get himself out there was finding a job. And one of the things that I can just highly recommend, because I realized it was just a delay in the process, it just made things overwhelming. Just make sure that you have your vital documents. Because when my brother we finally had reunited and we were in the process of getting him a job, he did not know, what his social security was. I was like, you got to get your ID. He was like, well, I don't know how to get that. And I don't have the money and stuff for that. But there's a good resource that iFoster provides. It's called Project ID that can help you find those important vital documents for free. So that was useful for my brother. But before you have everything, just make sure you just have those. And another thing I can just say, just finding a job is not like you're going to get, the position the next following day or two. Applying for a job, it does take some weeks, specifically of what you're looking for. Even when you go to a place that is hiring and you give them your information, don't stop there. Keep going, keep continuing your network. Try to apply to as much positions that fits you as you can. That way you have a high chance of getting one of them that is interested in you. Because if you just apply to just one or two or three or just five, there's a high chance that, you might not get the job or something comes up. And one of the things that I learned when I was helping my brother apply for a job, you have to keep applying every week. And I noticed people, when they see the position posted at the building or online and stuff, don't try waiting and then apply. Do it immediately and maybe sometimes going up there to see if it's actually legit works too, because they will actually see that you are interested. But always stay consistent, keep networking, apply as much um, jobs or positions as you can, and make sure that it's understands you, like, how can I say it? Make sure it fits you. Don't just apply for a job because, oh, it's high with the hourly wage or something. Try to see what's best for you at the moment, that's capable to your skill, to your ability, and what you can do. Because if you're at this job, you're going to grow, and you're going to find other opportunities in the future. But as of now, try to do what's best for you. And I think that's one of my biggest takeaways that I had when I was applying, and for my brother at this time. So, just make sure you have the patience, make sure you have everything already at hand, because if someone is going to give you a call and you have everything, then you'll be good to go of getting that position.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today and sharing about your employment journey. Getting a job is a big piece of becoming independent and living on your own. So I'm so glad you could share with us the challenges you're experiencing, and some of the, or experienced, and some of the resources that helped you get on the right path and helped you spread the word to other people, like your brother, like assisting your brother. If any of the resources we mentioned here today sound like they would be helpful to you, get in touch with iFoster by clicking the link in the description. Become a member and gain access to the over 500 resources in our portal. We talked about a couple of them. There's a lot more that you could benefit from. So that's a wrap for our first Smooth Transitions podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date on all the things you need to know to smoothly transition out of foster care. And contact iFoster to get connected to the resources we mentioned here today and many more. Join us next month when we talk with Yvette Ramirez about her journey from high school to college graduate. If you want to ask a question on a future episode, we definitely want to hear from you. Click the link in the description to ask our peer professionals questions about their transition out of the foster care system and into independent adulthood. We're all for it. We hope that you ask us questions and that we could go over them in the next, after Yvette's episode. Episodes after that, we'll gladly go over some of those questions. See you all in the next episode.